thank you everyone for being here today. I'd like to ask that you please silence your phones at this time. The press conference is about to begin. District Attorney Dan Dow will be making some brief comments, and then he'll open it up to limited questions. Present this morning with District Attorney Dan Dow, D-A-N-D-O-W, will be Assistant District Attorney Eric Dobroff, E-R-I-C-D-O-B-R-O-T-H, Deputy District Attorney Chris Pubell, P-E-U-V-R-E-L-L-E, Sheriff Ian Parkinson, I-A-N-P-A-R-K-I-N-S-O-N, and Sheriff's Detective Clint Cole, C-L-I-N-T-C-O-L-E. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. My name is Dan Dow. That's spelled D-A-N-D-O-W. I am the San Luis Obispo County District Attorney. This morning, I am announcing the filing of a felony criminal complaint against two men, Paul Flores and his father, Ruben Flores. The charge against Paul Flores is murder. It is alleged that Mr. Flores caused the death of Kristin Smart while in the commission of or attempted rape. That is first-degree murder under California law. Ruben is charged with accessory after the fact to murder. The allegation against Ruben is that he helped to conceal Kristin's body after the murder was committed. Both defendants will be arraigned tomorrow morning at 8:30 in the San Luis Obispo County Superior Court, Department 3. These charges mark a major milestone. For more than 2 decades, 3 sheriffs, 3 district attorneys, and countless investigators have worked to bring justice to Kristin Smart. The story of Kristin Smart has touched us all. The story of her enthusiastic spirit, her experience as a Cal Poly college student, her wonderful family. Her story has filled us all with determination, and as her family has long become a part of our community. Today, we mark the very first move to bring justice to Kristin Smart, her family, and to the entire community of San Luis Obispo County. This month, April 2021, we celebrate the rights of crime victims. It's a reminder that we are working every day to help victims and their families to achieve justice. The system has traditionally been called the criminal justice system. I think it's more properly called the criminal and victim justice system, especially during this month, so that we never diminish the importance of keeping victims' rights at the forefront of our criminal system, of our justice system. Kristin's family has been incredibly gracious over the last 25 years. They have willed this moment to happen, and we owe them a debt of gratitude. Over the past 24 plus years, there have been 3 sheriffs, as I mentioned, 3 district attorneys, all involved in wanting to solve this case. And we are grateful for the very hard work of the Sheriff's Department, all of their personnel, the investigators, especially lead detective Clint Cole, who's on the case now. They have persisted to bring us to the point where now they are confident that they have enough evidence to make the arrest that they did yesterday. The District Attorney's Office team has now carefully reviewed the case and concluded independently that we do have enough evidence to go forward and prosecute both Mr. Paul Flores and Ruben Flores. To my right is Deputy District Attorney Chris Pubell. Chris is a very experienced prosecutor handling many very difficult cases, including multiple murder cases. He is our lead prosecutor, leading an exceptional team as we go throughout the court process. Finally, I want to conclude with, as with any criminal case, our investigation is always ongoing up until the very end, until the case is resolved. And so we want to put out today a request for information from the public. We are seeking the public's assistance in providing any information about this case or information on other potential crimes believed to have been perpetrated by Paul Ruben Flores, including assaults or other acts. Paul Flores was known to frequent bars in the San Pedro area from 2005 until the present day. Any individuals with any information are encouraged to contact the San Luis Obispo County Crime Stoppers at 805-549-7867, or you may do it online at www.slotips.org. I will now take a few questions.
Dan, will you seek a plea deal or a lighter sentence for exchange of information leading to the recovery of Kristin's remains?
The question was, would we accept a plea deal or any kind of lesser charges in exchange for giving us the location of Kristin's remains? It's an excellent question. It's premature right now to even speculate on that. We already have an ongoing conversation with Mr. Paul Flores' counsel, and we're welcome to any conversation that they might want to bring to us.
Mr. Dow, how difficult will it be to have a fair trial in San Luis Obispo County with the defendants?
First, I'm very confident in the people of our county. We have 300,000 residents here that love our community, that want to serve when they have the opportunity to do so. Our court process is designed to pick a fair jury, no matter how big or significant the case is. I'm confident that we'll be able to do that, but it will be a decision at some future point that a judge may have to make if there are requests to move it to a different venue.
Mr. Downs, the sheriff was talking about yesterday, there's been a lot of evidence collected over the years. Why charges now? Was there some really major piece of evidence that came forward here recently, or pieces of evidence that made you decide this is the time that we've got enough to go forward?
So the question was, what new evidence do we have? And of course, that's a question everybody's asking and wants to know. I can't tell you today specifically what the evidence is. As the sheriff said yesterday, there are seals on the search warrants that they were executing yesterday, and we don't want to do anything to jeopardize the fair process that I was just asked about going forward. So what I can tell you is that significant new information has come in to the sheriff's office that we've reviewed over the last 2 years, and some very important information just a month ago. We've got physical evidence, we have witness statements, things that, in our view, in the totality, have brought us to the point where we believe we can go forward and prosecute Mr. Flores for the murder of Kristin Smart.
Well, you can't talk specifics. Can you tell us the nature of that evidence that came in a month ago?
I really want to get away from that, other than we have evidence where we believe there's a location where Ms. Smart was taken.
Can you talk about the manner of death, Mr. Dow?
I can't talk about the manner of death. That's something that we'll deal with in court, either at a preliminary hearing or a future trial or hearing.
I mean, in your time, have you ever filed murder charges against someone without a body?
This office has filed a no-body homicide. It was several years ago. There was an elderly woman that was murdered by her grandson. The sheriff's office conducted the investigation. This office conducted the successful prosecution.
Mr. Dow, how difficult are those cases without any remains?
No-body homicides are obviously complicated and difficult, but they're no less important. In fact, they're incredibly important for the victim's family because they want closure, as do the Smarts in this case. So they're complicated, they're difficult, but we don't make a decision to file unless we believe we can prove the case. And so our team of exceptional professionals and very experienced prosecutors and investigators are going to do everything we can to solve this case successfully and hold Mr. Flores accountable for the murder of Kristin Smart.
How significant were the phone or text messages that were being monitored?
I don't know exactly what you're referring to. The question was, how significant are
The
text
sheriff
messages?
had mentioned that they had gotten an order to where they were able to monitor phone and cell and text messages.
So I would just say that we have retrieved and collected electronic communications that have been helpful in the case, and I don't want to give anything beyond that.
Does the prosecution foresee requesting a higher bail amount for Mr. Ruben Flores tomorrow?
So the question from Matt Fountain was if we are seeking a higher bail amount for Mr. Ruben Flores. I understand his bail is set at $250,000 now. I don't think that we have a plan, but I'll defer to Mr. Prevail.
I think we will be asking for a higher bail amount tomorrow.
Based on the evidence you do have you got a better idea of where you believe Kristin was killed?
You know, I think what I'll say to that is what's generally already out in the public is that the last place where Kristin was seen was close to the dorms and near Mr. Flores' dorms. We certainly believe that Mr. Flores' dorm room was the crime scene.
Do you believe her body still being hidden on one of the properties owned by the family?
You may recall that I mentioned that the charges against Ruben Flores, Paul's father, was for accessory to murder after the fact, where it's alleged that he assisted in secreting the body after the homicide. We do believe that we have the location where the body was buried.
Is that on a property he owns?
I think we've looked at multiple properties. I'm going to stay away from specifics.
You mentioned that Paul had attempted rape in the process of killing Kristin. Are those charges or any assault or rape charges going to be filed against him, and are any of the other family members going to be in jeopardy of being charged as well?
So the question was two parts. The first was whether or not we're going to be able to charge an actual rape. Is that what the first
Correct.
question was? So let me take that one first. The statute of limitations on a rape charge from 1996 has already expired, considering the fact that Kristin was an adult over 18. So we do not anticipate filing charges for a specific rape. But the allegation that he was committing or attempting to commit a rape while when he killed her is the basis for which we are able to file first-degree felony murder charges. Now, the second question was, remind me of it.
The second question, are any other family members, I know a lot of people are asking about Susan Flores and her involvement in this. Are you guys looking at that potential as well to charge her, any other family members?
So the evidence, the question is, are we going to be charging Susan Flores or any other family members? At this point, the evidence implicates Paul Flores in murder and Ruben Flores to accessory to murder. We don't have evidence sufficient to charge anyone else at this time, but as I said, the investigation is ongoing. If it were to lead to other suspects, we will follow the evidence when that becomes available.
And what's your message to other witnesses that might have information and haven't come forward to you?
Our message is just this: we need all the information we can, and we want you, if you have information that's helpful, to come forward. If you've been a victim in another location, perhaps in San Pedro, we want you to come forward to law enforcement so that you can get assistance that you need, and it may help us in this particular case as well.
Have you found other victims that you believe were either sexually assaulted or even killed by Mr. Flores?
We do have evidence in this case that leads us to conclude that there very well may be additional victims in the Southern California area. And I don't want to go into the nature of that, but he was known to frequent bars in the San Pedro area and in Los Angeles County. And so we would ask that anybody that may have had an experience with him that they have questions about, for them to reach out and contact law enforcement.
For homicide or sexual assault?
At this point, we're concerned about sexual assault.
Can you give us a ballpark of how many victims you may have come across that may be involved with Paul in his alleged crimes?
On the criminal complaint, we filed an allegation, or a special notice, I will call it, saying that we are putting the defendant on notice that evidence code 1108 evidence, which is evidence of other sexual crimes, may be used against him. And we intend to use evidence of other sexual crimes in this prosecution to prove the facts necessary for the attempted rape in this case. So based on that, I can tell you that we do believe that we have evidence that we do believe there are other people that are not yet identified that have had some kind of a criminal act perpetrated on them by Mr. Flores.
And Mr. Dow, understandably, legal proceedings are long, the court process. When might we see, at best case scenario, this go to a trial, jury trial?
You know, the criminal justice system is continuous, it plods along. The defendant has particular rights as to timing. The defendant will have a right to have a preliminary hearing within 10 court days, which is 14 days, calendar days. So he would have a right, if he didn't waive it, to have a preliminary hearing begin 2 weeks from tomorrow. In cases like this, typically they take much longer, but it's up to him and his attorney to decide what position they want to take on that matter. I really don't want to speculate. My commitment to the Smart family and to the community is to put every resource that we have behind Mr. Purgell and our prosecution team to bring justice for Kristin as quickly as we can without violating any of the accused rights, making sure that it's a fair process all the way through.
My last question for you, Mr. Dow. This is, nearly a 25-year-old case. When you are going to be calling witnesses to the stand during the trial, are you concerned at all about memories that have faded since the case has elapsed over, nearly 3 decades?
The question was, are we concerned about memories fading when it comes to going into court and having witnesses testify? Of course, we're always concerned about those sorts of things. We have ways of working on that, ways of making sure that witnesses' memories can be refreshed through police reports and through things like that. So we will use every means available to us to ensure that we can present the very best case to ensure justice for Kristin. Matt?
Paul Flores was recently arrested for being a felon in possession of a firearm. Are you able to tell us at all about his past criminal history or what that felony might have been?
I believe it's been publicly reported that his prior felony was driving under the influence. I believe he had a series of DUIs that led finally to a felony conviction for DUI.
But no violent criminal history that you know?
None that we know of that he's been held accountable for.
Can you talk at all about his contradictory statements about what happened that night, early on?
The question is, can I talk about Mr. Flores' contradictory statements that he gave when he was interviewed earlier? And I really can't. I don't want to comment on anything that he has said. All I will tell you is that we're going to be, we have all of his statements, and we're carefully looking at them, and if they can be introduced as evidence, then we will aggressively work to do that.
Did they say anything after their arrest or since?
I'm not aware of anything. Certainly I can't comment on that right now. Any other questions? I'll take one more. All right. Thank you very much for being here today.